I'm a children's librarian, and a lot of times people just find your book on the shelf, under Dessen.
Right.
And they'll come up to me and go to check it out, and I'll say, have you read any other books by her? And they're like, no, this is the first one. I just like the cover, or the back of the book or whatever. It's like, you should definitely take more than one book home with you, because you're going to want to read them all. So you might as well get them before someone else takes them.
Well, that's great. And I'm grateful to, I think librarians really, especially in this economy, in a lot of ways, people are more and more going to libraries. And I think that librarians are really the ones that are getting books into people's hands. I mean, I think they have so much influence, and I'm just grateful that I always had really good librarians in school who could always find, the perfect book that I needed at that moment.
And my librarian introduced me to your books when I was in middle school, and I'm 22 now, and I still continue to read your books because I think that they have universal appeal, and even though they're in, the YA, young adult section, as an adult now, I can still read them and still really enjoy the characters, and, the themes are universal. So as I continue to get older, I know I'll still read your books because they're enjoyable, and I think that you base your characters in reality, and anyone can appreciate that.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I definitely never set out to write a book just for teenagers. I wrote a book with a teenage narrator, and it sort of was put into this category, which has been a great place for me, because obviously, I really relate to the teenage voice. But I think whether you're a teenager now or you were ever a teenager, there is something that you can find within these books that you can relate to your own experience. I think that's why stories about high school, movies about high school, that people are still attracted. You rarely meet anybody who doesn't have an opinion about high school. I mean, people either loved it, they hated it, every shade in between, but very rarely does anybody just not have any kind of feeling about it. So we can sort of transport ourselves back by reading these books. So I'm hoping that they will find a wider audience.
I check your blog like every day. I'm not joking. Every day. It's a ritual.
Well,
I
I've
thought it
been,
was really cool.
I think, very fortunate that my book started to come out right when the internet was kind of taking off. And it has changed, I think, the way that people interact with authors. Because when I was in school, if I was doing a report on Lois Lowry, it wasn't even an option to send her an email and ask her what the symbolism meant in any given, I definitely think it's made authors more accessible. And then you add blogs and Facebook and Twitter, and authors are just everywhere. But I've been very encouraged, because even if when I've gone and done signings over the years where a lot of people didn't come out, or I feel like the books aren't doing very well, I've always had this really strong online following. And I've really cultivated that, starting with the blog and all these different things that I've tried to do to really encourage people. Because I think, especially with teenagers, that's where you guys are a lot of the time. And now the marketing people are finally catching up with that and saying, we've got to go where they are. They're online. But I love having that connection with my readers, especially with the blog, because I have 2 years usually between books. And so I like to be able to put some of my writing out there on a more regular basis and get feedback from people and feel that connection. And since I work from home by myself, it's kind of like my little water cooler is the way that I look at it. I can talk about pop culture, I can talk about American Idol and Project Runway, and it's like I'm hanging around the water cooler with, millions of people or however many are reading at that moment. So it's really nice. I think I've been so fortunate to really build this really nice community, and I feel very, very lucky that the books have that kind of support and that I have that kind of support. It's great.
Well, we feel extremely lucky to have sat down here with you. On behalf of Borders, thank you so much. It's been such a delight talking with you, and then also your fans here. You've been so great to them, and we just greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for coming out.